Hi everyone, welcome to Thursdays in the Stoop. Today we have What the Character Wants, a collaborative intro to playwriting with Rebecca Petchenik. Rebecca Petchenik is a queer author and dramatist from North Carolina. KAIT, her most recent full-length play, premiered in Portland, Oregon as part of the Fertile Ground Festival in 2019 and was produced by FUSE Theatre Ensemble as part of the OUTWright Summer Theatre Series in 2020, and Hear Me Out Productions for the Rockwell 2022 Pride Series in Boston, Massachusetts. Her literary work has been featured in the Screen Door Review, The Pointed Circle, Plain China, Reader Beware, and many others. Her dramatic work has played across stages in North Carolina, California, Colorado, Oregon, and Massachusetts. She has a forthcoming novel as well as a subsequent collection of short fiction. We're so excited to have you, Rebecca. Take it away.
Hello, friends. Hi, how's everybody doing? I'm just going to imagine everybody's doing really great. The sort of back and forth on Zoom is a little bit lacking. So I figure it's kind of going to be a bit of an undertaking. We are all going to write a play today. So I figure we just jump right in. If you go to the chat, you'll find a link to a Google Drive that everybody has access to. Um, for now, as viewers, when we start actually working with these files, I'll make them so that you can edit them, but we'll get there when we get there. Is anybody having trouble opening the Google Drive? Has everybody got it? All right, cool. All right, stop me. Someone stop me if you have problems. I'm just gonna keep rolling. So you'll see in this file all of the things we're gonna use today, as well as two examples, which are technically things, but aren't really things. You know what I mean? So thing one is the first thing we're going to use is a structural breakdown, followed by a blank version of that structural breakdown so we can fill in our own outline. And then we're going to do two characters because we have an hour to write a 10-minute play. We don't have enough time to do two characters or more than two characters. So we're going to hit the ground running. And then there's thing four and thing five are just kind of be things, my gifts to you as things to look at and poke through for your own writing's sake. We're not going to probably use them. With thing six being our blank template. Now, playwriting is a very unique art because it's collaborative writing, which is kind of, if you think about it, it might break your brain a little bit. But you have the job of just writing the words and the story and not the stage directions if you can help it. Um, and so there's like certain kinds of like formats that theaters like that, if a producer sees this script in this format, it's going to go into their brain better, and they're going to be like, oh, I like this script, let me produce it, etc., etc. And that's the one we're gonna use. And I have like two versions of playwriting script, and we're gonna like vote on which one we want to use. Because at the end of the class, we're all gonna take a page and write a page of the script, come back together, put it together, and it should be all in the same format. But we'll get there when we get there. Let me see at my time. That is a 5-minute intro. So um, let's sort of get started. Now, if you click on thing one, it is a structure breakdown of the structure we're going to use to write this play. Now, a lot of this is going to feel like you've heard it before because the dramatic structure is pretty foundational to storytelling as we know it. And the reason is because drama was the first way of telling stories. Before we had writing, when we were early hominins huddled in caves, sitting around campfires, we would act out stories to each other about the gods, about the weather, about our heroes, about Zeus and the Athenian dramas came out of these sort of like we're all gonna sit in a circle around some people who are going to just do a thing for us. And so out of the dramatic process here, we get the dramatic structure as the sort of our foundation of narrative, particularly in English because of Shakespeare. Um, it's not universal though. None of these are going to be like universal concepts. This is like a Skillshare thing, so this is how I do it, and I'm really good at finishing things, and people aren't often good at finishing things, and this is a good way to finish a play. Um, Shut up, cat. My cat's meowing at me. She's jealous. She doesn't have a Zoom account, so she can't be here. Um, so, uh, when we talk about this, the name of the class, what the character wants. When I was in college, I had a professor who had two main mantras. What the character wants is the play, and dialogue is what characters do to each other. Blew my mind a little bit as a 19-year-old creative writing student. Uh, but these two principles really will help with this structure. Now, when we look at the structure here, it's broken down into 5 acts, but kind of looks like a Freytag's triangle. If anybody knows what that is, with the first act like introduction, rising action, falling action, except it's a little chunkier and choppier. Um, and that's because it's like we'll get into that in a second. This is like my process makes it a little choppier so that there's like an escalation and then a release, an escalation and a release, but just keeps things moving more. But for like ease of purpose, at the bottom in Act One on the left, you have character, and at the end of finale, you have thing that character want. Um, and in the middle, you have two main types of obstacles. Usually, they're grouped as two like specific obstacles. The first thing they do where the character has to initiate with the conflict, get past this obstacle to get what they want, what they think they want, usually without having to change much. Uh, with the climax being that obstacle they hit where they can't get past it without changing, and typically they don't get past it, which leads to this sort of Act Four, this like dark kind of like was Dark Night in the Valley is usually what it's called. Um, Also, Dark Night in the Garden, depending on what type of like approach you're using. Within the finale, called a denouement in theater, so we'll call it. Um, uh, it was like an explosion of tension. Um, Whereas, so I like to think about The Hobbit because The Hobbit, the ground is shaped like my little pyramid here. They start out in The Hobbit, in the Shire, climb up the Misty Mountains. Oh my God, goblins! Bilbo's got to Bilbo his way out of this thing. He finds the ring, and by being kind of lazy and introverted and mostly hungry and like kind of like a huffledy puffledy little hobbit, he gets the dwarves out. But we hit the midway point where there is no going back because to go back would be its own journey. You can only ever walk halfway into a forest. You can only go halfway into a story before you're going out again. Um, and so I like to think of the mountains because even if it's a lesser mountain, turning around and going home still requires climbing a mountain or going forward and fighting a dragon. And and the Hobbit's under the mountain, but still it's a bigger mountain. The Lonely Mountain. They fight the dragon, and it burns Lake Town, and everybody's mad. And you got Act Four, right? And they're all sitting there, and they're all trying to figure out what happened and what to do. And then everybody's like, you know what? I'm going to get the thing that I want because the things that have happened, and have set the stage for me to have the thing that I want, which in The Hobbit is the Arkenstone, it's the mountain, it's all the gold, it's all that stuff. And then they have the big fight at the end, the Battle of the Five Armies, and I like that because it's like there's like the hill, and like the like dwarf guys are coming over the hill, and it's like a lot of fun like that. Um, and so it's a good way to kind of think about what we're doing here. Is this? Excuse me. um, character and then what they want and then what's in the way of them getting it, right? So we're going to move on to thing two. Thing two is just a blank version of that. Um, and you'll see that it's got 20 little dots on it and then a little like thing below it where you'd be stuff, stuff, and then tabbed over if you have notes to make about stuff, you make notes there and that stuff. You can feel free to make a copy of this and move this into your own writing file because I made this thing and it helps a lot. I have a million of these things written in journals and in my computer, and it's like if you want to have a story you want to hang on to, but you don't have time to write it, put it on one of these, put it in a file, you have that story, and it works for just about anything. And you can even twist this to work with things that aren't narrative too, but we're not going to get into that. Um, Now we're going to move on to thing three. There are two thing threes because we have two characters. We have our protagonist and our antagonist. Uh, I don't like the idea of the good guy and the bad guy. Nobody does anymore. We're in a postmodern world. We have characters who have desires, right, that are misaligned with each other. And so understanding that we want to put our characters into action and then go, right? We're kind of going to fill these things in at the same time a little bit, and try to get this. Uh, the story will kind of coalesce as we're all working towards it. But if we look at this character process, this is very descriptive and not very prescriptive at all. Like the basic description of the character, right? Their morality is what do they believe, right? What do they know that they believe? What they really like know they believe, like they say they believe. They like these are my, this is my morality. And then covert is like inward, secret, kind of like they don't realize this is their thing. And the same thing for their motives. What do they want? What do they know they want? What do they not know that they want that they're actually trying to get? Things like that. Understanding is like, what do they think? It's like, what is their perspective on the world and the world that they're in and the events of the thing, right? All slightly different, all slightly important. And then they have before, during, and after. And then you have your flaws and your strengths. And with flaws, are the ones they overcome, and the ones that they don't, and that might be the ones that like their fatal flaw. And then you have your strengths, which is the ones they go in with, right? And the ones that through the process of the story they earn, right? And it's another thing. Feel free to make a copy of and use. It's great. Um, uh, and I have a second one that is thing three character process, but character process is backwards because in my brain everything's a little bit nerdy. So we're thinking about this like Mirror World Star Trek, right? So the best way to do this, believe it or not, is like Mad Libs. So somebody say a name and I'll put it in. Now I don't have access to typing, so I want people to be brave, turn off the mic, and just give me a name. Or I'll come up with one that's really dumb. We're on character process thing three. You can go there, and I'm going to make this one so that people, anyone, can change it and add stuff to it and make it better than I ever possibly could. Uh,
Rebecca, can you hear me? Hey,
I
sorry I
can hear
was
you.
late. I have a question.
Yeah,
I don't see any of these documents. Are we supposed to see them?
yeah. Can you go ahead and repost the link to the Google Drive?
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
I didn't
Okay.
it had a weird message that the other Zoom couldn't access it. And I don't know why, but do you see the
Okay.
link now, Martha? Sorry
I
about that.
do. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay,
All
great.
right.
Thank you. Appreciate
So,
it.
I think Christina had maybe a name
Yeah, I
idea.
can
Saw
see
you
it
on.
now. Mhm.
Maria.
Maria. All right. Someone tell us about Maria. Who is she? What'd she do? Give me like. Oh, this is my friend Maria. She's a blank. I'm gonna start typing stuff.
Security guard.
Security guard.
And she's an identical twin.
And who has a twin. I like that. That's fun. All right. So we'll start there, right? We all kind of have an idea of a Maria. We probably all know a Maria or a Maria type. Somebody who is a security guard with an identical twin. We all know one. And so we're gonna jump back over to our Thing 2 5 beat, right? And these are here so that they illustrate. But like this whole thing is uses the numbering thing. So if I were to blah and then blah, it would pop back up. So we're gonna do this. And with the first 3 dots here, I tend to do like the at rise who, where, when. Right? So we're gonna say Maria. What is Maria? Maria is a security guard. Where? General. This wasn't putting her on Mars. Putting her on Mars. She's on Mars, y'all. You let her be on Mars. Maria is a security guard with an identical twin on Mars. Fuck yeah. I want to see this play already. So, she's on Mars, right? And when we're gonna have to say the future. We kind of wrote ourselves into a sci-fi thing, unless it's the past. Does anybody think we should be the past? Kind of feels like it should be the past now, right? It's the past.
I think that would make it interesting if it was the past.
It's the past. All right, cool. Who, where, when. All right, so what does Maria want? Now we're gonna go back to our thing 1 to look at our kind of have a view of the shape of a story in our brain, right? What's something that Maria wants, right?
Like to stay on Mars? Oh, sorry, Melissa, you can go.
I was going to go with the opposite. She wants to leave Mars.
She wants to leave Mars. Oh, that's good. That is good. Okay, great. Now, we go back to our thing 3, Maria. We go down to motives. Known wants to leave Mars. I'm going to put security guard who has a twin on Mars in the past. This is going to be great. I'm so excited. So, what's in her way? Now, this is I brought up like we have to have a second character for her to interact with. And they can be like on a team with plot in the way. But if we're gonna do like 8 pages, we got one scene, one thing. On the other side of this scene is off of Mars, right? And right now she is on Mars, and then there's the thing she wants really, really, really bad. So if we think about our 2 things that are in the way, we can kind of compress this into thinking about one thing from 2 angles, or one thing she has to deal with in 2 ways. Another character who wants something else is a really great way to do another character whose whole vibe is contradictory, so they're put next to each other and they make friction. Who wants something else, something they have to deal with and get through using dialogue. Dialogue is things that characters do to each other, right? So, our second character, open up thing 3, Secorp Retkarash. Twin Peaks he is, isn't it? We need another name.
I think this is her twin sister.
Twin sister.
Mhm.
What's her twin sister's name? It's gonna be Berea if nobody gives me something better.
Sarah.
I think it should just be
Sarah.
like Jane.
We got Sarah. Sarah was thrown out.
Sarah Marie.
Sarah's like
yeah, that works.
Jane, but a little more, uh, unique, but not quite so like every person. Sarah, you want to walk that line that there's the name where it's like you could know somebody named this, but it's not going to be an example person like Jane. Sarah is great. Maria, great. These are regular people names, right? Good, strong. These are people. And we're probably gonna go with that her motives are that she doesn't want her sister to leave, right? So, because this is one scene, we gotta make it count, right? So, putting her in the way. Now, we may not fill all of these in all the way, uh, but they're there so that we can kind of keep track of where our head's at. The one that's going to be important is going to be thing two, which I'm going to call now Maria and Mars, which is a working title. Working titles are great because there's just a working title. Now, I like to do when I have a thing, I like to what? I like to get down so that there's like 20 things. So 20, we know she wants to leave Mars, right? Thing in the middle, we look at number 9 there. What's that? That's her sister, who's a twin. But there's friction, right? Like that's the fun thing about twins is they're not the same person. They're almost the same person, which makes them more not the same than anybody else is not the same, right? It makes that one difference even more pronounced. It's fun for theater. Hard without casting actual twins, but we're gonna imagine we have an infinite budget, which is the best way to be, and then work back in later drafts. So Maria's twin sister is in the way, who Maria doesn't want her, or Sarah doesn't want her to leave, right? Now, we have our mountain. Wasn't that great? That was fast. Less than half an hour. Half an hour plus time for me to be silly, right? Um, I want to move on now to we're gonna break it down. Acts one are done. This is a short play, so we don't really get an act one. We're kind of starting at boom. There's Maria. And there's off of Mars, and we're looking at what's called an at rise, which is really just means that when the curtain rises, at rise, what do you see? The mise en scène in film. There's another kind of word for it, and it's also French, and it's kind of snooty. But basically means what do you see when the curtain goes up? That's held for like an extra beat before stuff starts. I like to put two characters in a room and make them talk to each other, um, because it's kind of what's going to be happening on stage. Is two characters in a room and talk to each other. Um, and so we have the two things that they want, right? And their presences are together here, right? Um, if we put Marie, the security guard, who wants off Mars, and her sister who wants her to stay, who's a twin, is she's not a security guard or is she a security guard? Somebody answer that question. 'Cause this is the part where I start asking questions about this story to y'all, and y'all just start answering them. And trust me, y'all, I think we're on the track for this thing to be silly. So let's have fun with it. Because if not, if you don't, I'm gonna make you. It's gonna be hilarious, and we're gonna have such a great time. So, Maria and Sarah at each other's throats, or is it smoldery? Somebody tell me.
I don't think she
Smoldering.
should be a security guard.
You don't think she should be a
I think
security guard? Well,
no, I think she should be something different.
I think that what we should do is just uh um
Oh, you're muted, Rebecca.
okay. Ah ha ha ha, there we go.
Okay.
Fantastic. So where was I? I distracted myself. Maria and Sarah, they're smoldery or is it explosive? Someone else answer it. I love you, Mom, but someone else answer it.
Hush.
I say
Someone else answer it.
explosive.
Huh?
They're at each other's throats.
At each other's throats. So she bursts in, right? And there's her sister. We put security guard on the back burner because that's just like her day job. This is now because suddenly become a family drama on Mars in the past. So she bursts in Sarah at each other's throats. Right? See how much fun this gets when we really roll into it? Right. So we have to have them talk to each other now. Right? So in my head, right, as your director who's going to like undercut every decision you make, every choice you've made as a playwright and be your worst enemy. So they're there, they see each other, they're like, oh my god, you suck. Oh my god, you suck. Cool. We're gonna have Sarah have to break the big news, right? I'm leaving Mars, or Maria is leaving Mars. I would hope they can keep themselves straight better than I can, right? So does anybody have any opposition to her just basically saying it? I'm leaving Mars. All right, cool. All right. And so she's gonna have to be like smolder and shout. She's gonna have to be a complex actor, right? And just be like, I'm here, right? You're here. We're gonna stay, right? Right? So it's kind of like oftentimes you make decisions for yourself before you even get there, like where we're at here. Why does she want to stay? Because they're twins. They want to stay together, probably because they've never been apart, right? They're on Mars in the past as twins. There's some cool alien shit happening here. There's some chosen one stuff that's probably going to be thrown around and some like refusal of the call or whatever. But none of that really matters because this is one scene, 8 pages right now. So what they feel about each other is they feel they don't want to be apart, and one is willing to be apart to have what's off of Mars. And we're, who knows what that is? Is that an adventure? Is it a better life? Is it some like, oh, is it like a really cool, like sparkly rock that gives her superpowers? We don't know. Also happens later and later. In this moment, that driving force is what's going to push them forward. It's going to raise the tension between reader text, audience play that actually is tracked by that line is tension over time because all text is a negotiative process. It's not a thing you can hold because without someone to read it, it's just squiggles on a piece of wood pulp or whatever. It's you looking at it and you together making meaning, right? And nothing's more like recreating meaning every time than theater, right? So that tension where you have to like have this sort of ongoing negotiation between you and the text is where that line happens and what the structure of things tracks. And so you get things like raising the stakes or strong choices or all of these other kind of I used to have a professor who called them gas stations, and I don't know why, because he described Hot Wheels when he was talking about how this thing goes up and the little guy goes and he hits a gas station and it zooms him up. And I'm like, okay. But you kind of makes sense, right? What pumps it up, what throws gasoline on the fire, and what is going to make the audience have to like question or try to understand or to try like a little bit harder to go where the play is trying to take them, right? Uh, which is a lot to ask of an 8-minute scene in what is going to be a heartwarming, like comedy drama, sci-fi about these twin sisters and their journey, right? Which is y'all great, y'all are really good at this. And so we're gonna come up against that no way back moment, right? Things are gonna have to change, strong change, right? So we can let that be what it's obviously going to be, which is, I want to leave. No. Boom. It's just laid out there, right? So, this is what I mean when they write themselves for you. You already put the pieces on the board to get them where they're needing to going. They have to kind of go through these little tracks the way they get to where they're going. And remember, dialogue is what characters do to each other. This is a big one. No is a big, I'm doing something to ya, right? I'm gonna go, spelled poorly, twin sister, say no. Says no. Now Maria's been, doing all of the cool, like, stunt maneuvers to get to that last sort of like gateway between her and like this big change that has been boiled down to be the play, this moment. We're in the very center of the center of the center at this moment, right? There are choices that she has to make. Is she gonna go back or is she not? If she turned back, it would be a play, kinda, right? I mean, you could kind of have her deal with the fact that she didn't, but nobody. We don't think we're writing that play. I think we're writing it's an all or nothing moment, and she's gonna go for all and not nothing, right? Because I feel like we're those kind of people here. Like we really like this idea of this like hard tense drama, right? So the whole second half of the play, right, is the characters doing things to each other to try to get what they want, right? And that is like the most gasoline on that fire of tension that a person could do, right? Um, with this kind of thing, this short a piece, I like to go quick to like once that happens, I like to move quick to the climax, right? And really ramp up faster and faster. So there's not going to be a lot of room for them to say thanks, right? So the twin sister is going to say no, stay. She's going to have to escalate, right? Maria, she's gonna have to because this is her staring at herself, basically saying no, you can't. Symbolism's not lost on me. Freaking geniuses, I love you. So, the twin sister say no. Maria says she has to in some way, and it's got to be an important way, right? So we're gonna make it important, right? And kind of sad, but also mad, right? And she's gonna the sister's gonna have to be like have a retort to this. It's gonna have to push her down, right? Um, and she's gonna be like, Sarah's got to be like, so someone who knows Maria well, tell me, would Maria do anything to get what she wants? Or would she do anything to get what she wants without hurting her sister? There's one answer.
She would do anything, including use the gun she has as a security guard.
Christina, I love you. So Sarah's like, no. But then Maria pulls the gun, right? So this idea of the response to pulling a gun escalates the tension as throwing a gun on the table. We all know what they say about guns in theater. If it's there, you gotta use it. It was like a famous guy and his whole thing. But we're not talking about him. We're talking about me. So we'll call it Rebecca's gun. Is if there's a gun on stage, then you have to use it. But it's zany. So Maria pulls a gun. How do we think Sarah responds to this? Does Sarah believe it, first of all? Because, like, there's pulling a gun and then there's actually pulling a gun on someone, right? I don't know this family. I don't know what type of weird they are, right? Maybe just waving around a gun is just something they do, right? Or maybe it's really, really, really not, and it's a really, really big thing. And I lean towards it's a big thing, but there's weirdness that can happen if it's like, oh, you're doing this again, but and it's like, no, but this time I'm serious, right? So, Sarah, someone other than as Martha, Christina, and Rachel answer me. Does Sarah believe her? Toby, you have when you're muted if you're giving us.
I don't know. It's certainly more
That's an
dramatic if
answer.
yes.
That's an answer, though. I don't know. She doesn't know. Maybe she doesn't know if she believes her. That complicates things even more. And that gives your actors more chances to do more faces. And boy, howdy, do they love doing that. Just making all them faces. So Sarah doesn't know if she believes it, which means that the only logical next step is that she's all or nothing. This is the moment, right? Um, does she? Shooter, someone who hasn't spoken yet, yes or no, shoots her sister. Doesn't kill. And I'm not asking if she kills her sister. Just does she pull that trigger? Dun, 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 dun. I'm gonna say she does. I'm just gonna say it because nobody else said it. And you know what? I haven't decided anything on this script yet. I'm in the class too. I'm gonna say she pulls the trigger. Right. So all of a sudden you've got how a moment of dramatic action. Is she willing to shoot her own twin sister to get off of this planet? Well, she now knows, her sister now knows, and the audience now knows that she's willing to do that. And I can't imagine her sister, even if she's alive, which, personally, I would hope she's shot on the foot or something. But I'm kind of squeamish, and I'm like, but if she kills her twin sister for it, that is drama. That's high drama. That's serious. That raises those stakes even higher than shooting her in the foot. She has to kill her twin sister to get her thing. Those are stakes. And she's done it. She's done whatever it was. Shoot or she's pulled the trigger. She's gone. There's no further she can go other than to have what she wants. And so that moment, that dark night moment, she doesn't go right to the denouement. She didn't shoot her and get the thing. We're not going to let her off that easy. We're not going to let shooting her sister be the end of the story because that's nothing. That's a weird. That's a plotless art piece that I would be confused by and probably not feel very smart watching, and would probably be in black and white. So we're not going to do that. We're going to not let her get away without having to sit with it, right? That's what our 16, 17, 18, and 19 are. This is the moment where internally, and you're going to have to trust your actors, or rather trust your director to find the actors who can do it, to do it, to talk, to have the moment internal and perform it or whatever. But we need to know as writers what is happening in her head, even though we're not going to actually write it, right? The last real question before I jump into showing you what a script looks like, and we start talking about like putting it together and see if we're all feel like like going into breakout rooms or whatever, writing a page and coming back and putting it in order. The last question is, she has what she wants in her hand. Her sister is dead, right? Is she willing to just go or stay and do the consequences of her actions? This is an answer we have to know, even if we don't let our audiences know it. You think she leaves? Who thinks she leaves? Raise your hands. I'm gonna vote. Right. And who thinks she stays and deals with consequences? Right. I see hands. I can't count in any way to know who did more or less. But you as writers now know. I as audience don't have to know. Isn't it lovely? Right. So for the last 15 minutes of class, right? We have I'm sorry, of class. I'm a teacher, so I sometimes I'll do that to friends at parties. So anyway. We're gonna look at thing 6, finally. Real quick before we do thing 6, if you like, we can be like things 4 and 5 are fun, little gify look thingies. Thing 4 is like a bubble chart, right? Um, and a bracketing thing that's about change and goals. Now, the bubble thing is like, you think a foundational aspect of the character, Maria, wants to get off the thing, so she has ambition of some kind, right? An event happens. How does her ambition make her react to that? And then you'll see there's a bubble that goes off as how does that then change her, right? Those are good for if you use whiteboard, right? You can draw those bubbles, right? The other one is like you take a character who's need, right? And so they have a need that's unfulfilled, and so that makes them want something to fill that need, right? And that is your goal. She wants to get off the planet because she needs something else, which can be figured out. We have an outline. That's all we have. That's all we need. That can come later. Her long-term goal, get off the planet. Short-term goal, get through that door. And get through that door and the short-term goals and those lists of things, that's where the play happens, right? And then the other thing is a checklist of 16 questions you can ask yourself or others about your character. I love to ask other people, what's my character's nickname? They don't know what I'm talking about. It's usually at the bus stop. So, whatever. But I enjoy it, and I get to come up with cool new stuff when I'm like, well, you know what? I think it should be Steve, even though it's weird. Wouldn't it be weird? Maria's nickname is Steve. I don't know. We like weird people. We like playing with gender. It's fun. Um, so and it's kind of broken down. And feel free to make copies of this too and use it in your own writing because these apply to other types of writing. Thing 6. Now we're actually looking at it. Stage play template by my lovely self, right? I put this together while looking at other plays, maybe 15 years ago. You scroll down to page 2, and you'll see Act 1, Version 1, right? Scene 1. At Rise. Now that you describe what's on the stage, right? Character 1, off to the left, dialogue. This double space looks like a typewriter. This one is the American version, looks a lot like a movie script, right? You scroll down to the 3rd page, and you're going to see a more traditional one, like you see like the British versions of things usually look like this, where you'll have your name in the center, and then the character thing, and then at Rise is this will be in full sentences usually. It won't just be at Rise, chair, table, dead guy. It'll be like, at Rise, the stage is set thusly on a cool summer evening, blah, 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 blah. And the action tends to be the same way, and the inline direction tends to be the same way. Now, I've mentioned before that plays don't tend to have stage directions, believe it or not. As I'm sure a lot of people know, because it's become public knowledge recently, is that Shakespeare's longest stage direction was exits pursued by a bear. I think it's exits pursued by a bear. And this is because what you're writing is the words they say, and in the story in general. But how they're said, how they're felt, and how they're performed, there's a person who spent their entire career learning how to do that Like you spent your entire career learning how to write the words. So they're going to make better choices than you ever could about how to say your own words because they're actors and that's what they do. Um, the directors are also going to make better choices. And it's a collaborative enterprise. You are there working with actors and directors and producers. You're probably going to keep rewriting this play right up until the last second with them as they go up and the actor can't say a word and because they get tongue tied and you got to change it. Or all of a sudden you don't have the budget for a flying saucer. Things happen. And people have their jobs and you need to give people room to do their craft too, right? So, if you go back to our folder, we have example 1 and example 2. Example 1 is Streetcar Named Desire, Tennessee Williams, classic play written by someone who wanted to write a novel. And you can just sort of tell by all of the things that are described that can't be acted or performed, things like what is thought or what is felt, right? Which are always just ignored completely because they're going to want to do it their way anyway, right? Um, and uh, you know, it is what it is. But you'll notice that there's a lot of stage direction, a lot of stuff is micromanaged, right? If you look at example 2, Harvey, right, about the rabbit, you'll notice there's almost none. Let's just enter character, say their words, exit character, right? Unless it's something that's like super important, they begin to exit through the door, but then this happens because it's something they have to respond to or interact with, or it's a thing happening. But describing how they read it, describing what it looks like, you want to give the directors and the actors and everybody else as much room to do their thing as possible. And the things that they can't do is write the words in the story. So that's what we're here to do. And it doesn't look like we'll have quite enough time to all write a couple pages and bring them together, unless, we do like an email thing, which I think could be a lot of fun. And we all have access to this thing, right? The Google folder, right? Y'all can go in there and mess around now. The secret, speak friend and enter thing. Our stage play template's no longer a stage play template. It's Maria goes away from Mars. And it's sad, right? She shot her twin. It's sad. So Maria goes away from Mars, right? And you know what? It's no longer by my lovely self. It's by your lovely selves. Isn't it lovely? So, y'all know how to write plays now. I got 7 or 8 minutes. Is there any questions? Again, I can't see, so I'm trusting my handy dandy blue Stoop assistant to kind of like throw you at me or just start talking.
Any recommendations for writing the dialogue itself, or does it?
Yes.
Okay.
Go to the bathroom. Go literally sit in a bathroom and listen to people talk.
Oh,
And it's just a great way to listen to and hear people talk, especially at bars, especially when they're drunk. It's great. Go in there with a notebook and just like secretly transcribe. And I know I'm a trans woman saying this, and it's a little bit, but for real, it's good. It's a great way. Uh, there's a line that you try to walk that's between over expository and um like, as you know, you are my sister, and we are also twins. And, right? And it's hard because it's not realistic, it's naturalistic, or another style you might want to do. I find the more you start at and work the other way, the better. But that's just me. I've never really found a good textbook or anything that has better advice on writing dialogue than listen to people in the bathroom. Well, same professor who was like, uh, what the character wants is the play. Remember that. And dialogue is what characters do to each other. Remember that one. And also, write in the bathroom, I guess, and wash your hands. Any other questions? We got like 5 minutes. If not, then this is lovely. I had a great time. I hope y'all had a great time. We all wrote a sci-fi play today. I got paid like $500 to do one of these for a festival once. You could now be a playwright in a 48-hour play festival. They could give you a prompt and you can use these tools to pop one out in a couple of hours for some like fun theater people to go perform. That could be crazy and silly and fun. I did one about zookeepers. It was fun.
Winshin Liu said, thank you for walking us through this. I've stopped, but appreciate this, Rebecca. Crystal Young also said, thank you so much. So compliments in the chat. I know because you can't see it, Rebecca.
Well, I could bring up the chat. It's on my phone, and I'm like, I have it set up so that the thing I see mostly is my own face. So, oh God, you know what? You thank you for coming out. I was worried everybody would be like, theater. That's how droll.
I love the structure of this. I would, if there are
Mhm.
more offerings for like Blue Stoop or whatever, and like a longer amount of time, I'm very interested. This has been so much fun.
Yeah, I like that you are saying that and not me still pestering them with emails that say that.
For sure.
No. If no one else has any
Great, honey.
thanks, Mom.
It's my baby.
Yeah. Okay. It's the first thing she's ever done. I've been doing this for 20 years, and this is the first one she shows up to and
I know.
embarrasses me to no
I
end.
know.
All right.
Yep.
Thank you all so much. I'm gonna be
Thank
checking
Thank
in on
you.
this. I'm gonna be checking in on this script. I expect to see it done by 4 weeks from now, and then we can start talking about production. I'm kidding. I'm 100% kidding. But that's what it sounds like. That's what success sounds like. So, yes.
Yeah, thanks everyone for joining. Thank you, Rebecca. I'm going to post some links in the chat. We have a feedback survey, our upcoming events and classes. Ryan, it's great if you put there that you'd love to see Rebecca teach a longer class. As you know, this is a free session, but if you'd like to support Blue Stoop, you can make a donation. And yeah, also subscribe to our weekly newsletter. We'll be here again next Thursday. And yeah, thanks everyone for coming.